Alright, so this is the start of some CSEC additional maths lessons. So let's write that down. So CSEC additional mathematics. Alright, so this syllabus is broken up into a few sections. Well, 4 sections to be exact. The first section that we have is algebra, sequences, and series. Algebra, sequences, and series. The next topic is coordinate geometry, vectors, and trigonometry. The third topic would be introductory calculus, and the last topic would be probability and statistics. Now, each of these topics may sound very difficult, but they're not. All right? They sound challenging, but all we're doing is we're building on the knowledge that you already have, and we're working with that to learn something else or learn something more advanced. Don't think that just because it's additional math that you're going to find something challenging or so challenging that you're going to understand. Just take your time as we go through the series and you'll be able to understand the topics easier. Now, the first topic that we're going to start with is algebra, well, the first section, I should say, is algebra, sequences, and series. So, algebra, algebra. Right, hold on. Yeah, good. Algebra, sequences, and series. This topic is broken up into 5 further topics. The topics are as follows. We have, well, algebra as the first topic. Then we have quadratics. Then we have inequalities. Then we have surds, indices, and logarithms. And then we have sequence and series. Sequences and series. We're going to start at the beginning with algebra. All right. So let's get started with that. The first thing that you need to know when you're doing algebra is how to add and subtract polynomials. And this will be the topic that we're going to do for today. All right. So the topic that we're going to do for today is the addition and subtraction of polynomials. All right. So the first thing that you might want to ask is, what is a polynomial? What is a polynomial? And in simple terms, a polynomial is an algebraic expression that would consist of things like variables and coefficients and exponents. And it will tend to have a particular form. Let me just write a little bit of note like that. So a polynomial is an algebraic expression that consists of variables, coefficients, and exponents. a polynomial has the form of, let me just write that out, P, the arrows, P of x is equal to a sub n x sub x to the power of n plus a n minus 1 x to the n minus 1 and so on in that pattern until you reach x to the power x base 1 x to the power 1 and then plus a0 x to the power of 0. This here at the end, this x to the power of 0 is 1, so it's usually excluded from this general form. Now, you have to know what each of those terms are inside of it. So let me just give a little bit of explanation here. So this a sub n, this a sub n minus 1, this a sub 1, and this a sub 0, all of them are constants. Right? X is a variable throughout this entire thing. Here, variable. That's this x as well. And the n is a non-negative integer. So let me just put it in red. So n here is non-negative integer. Non-negative integer. Right? It's a non-negative integer. Now that you know the definition of a polynomial, let's go about giving an example. So example, we'll say 3x cubed plus 2x squared minus 5x plus 7. Now, from this polynomial, there are a few terms that you would need to know, a few definitions or a few concepts that you would need to know. One of them is terms. So this here was what we would call a term. The next is coefficient. So this 5 here is what we'll call a coefficient. And then the last thing that you need to know is this number up here, which talks about the degree. The degree of polynomial is just simply the highest power of x inside of the equation. So the degree of this polynomial is 3 because we have 3 in this power up here. Now that you know how to identify a polynomial, let's talk about adding and subtracting polynomials, which is the objective we want to achieve. So adding, subtracting polynomials. Adding and subtracting polynomials is fairly straightforward. Let me give you a general statement first, and then we'll go on to more specific examples. So, for instance, here, to add or subtract polynomials, we combine terms that have the same variables raised to the same power. All right. So let's say, for example, let's say let p of x and q of x be two polynomials. Right? Let's say p of x has a shape that looks like a n x n plus a n minus 1 x n minus 1 plus a, well, let me just put dots actually, and then a1 x plus a0. And then let's look at what qx would look like. Let's say qx is equal to bn x to the n plus bn minus 1 xn minus 1 plus dot plus b1x plus b0. Yeah, b sub 0, right? Then if we're looking for the sum or the difference of the two polynomials, In other words, x plus or minus, let me just put the plus in a different color, so plus, and then the white in a different color, minus q of x would be as follows. We're going to have a n plus or minus bn. Then we're going to have x to the power of n plus, we're going to have a n minus 1 plus or minus bn minus 1 xn minus 1 plus dot 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 plus. Then we have a1 plus b1, sorry, not plus b1, plus or minus b1, and then x plus a0 plus or minus b0. All right, so let me just write this over. This is plus here, plus here, plus here, plus here, and then each of these is minus, 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 minus. So plus or minus. All right, let's go with an example. All right, so this looks a little bit cumbersome, but let's go with an example. So example, let's say for instance you have 3x squared plus 4x plus 5 adding to 2x squared minus 3x plus 7, and you need to solve that. Then what we have to do is group the terms that have the same powers. So we'll have here 3x squared plus 2x squared adding to 4x plus open bracket minus 3x close bracket there plus let's say 5 plus 7 close bracket. All right, let's simplify and solve each of these. So this here turns out to be 5x squared. Now when you have signs listed like this, you have to figure out whether it's going to be a positive or a negative. This here, as you can see, is going to be negative, so it's going to mean 4x minus 3x. 4x minus 3x is going to be x, so plus x. And then 5 plus 7 is going to be 12. Now, you may be wondering, why would I say that plus and a minus is a negative sign? That's the rule that we would go about doing. But if it is that you have a problem remembering products and what they would give, let's use a couple silly faces. So what I would usually tell my students is that if you have a plus with a minus and you times in each of them, then what you would get is a minus sign, right? If you have a minus times a plus, then you will also get a minus sign. If you get a plus times another plus, then you will get a positive sign. And if you get a minus times a minus, then you would get another positive sign. If it is that it looks a little bit like faces, that's how I meant for it to be. This here is supposed to be, and let me draw a bigger circle here. This here is supposed to be a sad face. This here is supposed to be a sad face. This here is supposed to be another sad face. Sorry, not a sad face, a happy face. And this here is supposed to be another happy face. What I think to myself is that somebody punched these two people in the eye, which is why they have a sad, frowny, negative face. And these two people didn't get punched in the face, so therefore they have happy, smiley faces. You can use that if you wish. But yeah, so negative and a positive here combines to give you a negative. Let's see if we can do another one so you can get more practice doing this. Let's say, for example, we have, let's say 6x cubed plus 3x squared minus 7, close bracket, minus open bracket, 4x cubed minus 2x plus 1, close bracket. Again, we're going to group the terms that have the same powers. So we want to take the 6x cubed and subtract the 4x cubed. Then we want to add that to 3x squared, but notice we have no x squared on the second part of the equation. So what we can do is we can write it like this. minus 0x squared, and then we put back in another plus sign, and then we have, what else? We have 0 x's, so we can say again, we'll write this here in orange, 0x minus, and then this here is minus 2, so I'm going to put that in bracket, minus 2x, close bracket, and then we have the next line plus negative 7 minus 1. Alright, don't have to put that in a bracket, don't have no sign in front of it. Alright, don't have a plus in front of it, but it doesn't matter. Let me just put it in there anyway. Plus 1. Alright, so now let's simplify that and see what we get. We can see that this here gives me 2x cubed. This here is 3 minus 0, which means that we just have 3x squared. This here combines and gives me a positive sign, so it's 0x plus 2x, which is just simply positive 2x. Then this here combines and gives me negative 1, so negative 7 minus 1, and then we solve each of these and we group them together. So the first one is 2x cubed. Then we have, let me just put it in a bracket, then we have 3x squared, then we have positive 2x, then we have negative 8, right? Now, the reason I put them in brackets is because sometimes you would have a situation like this where you need to resolve some signs. And when you resolve this sign, you get a negative sign here, so you could just simply expand it out and you'll get 2x cubed plus 3x squared plus 2x, because if you combine these two here, you would get you'll get a positive sign, and then you have your negative 8 at the end. So this is the difference of these two polynomials. We'll try something else again so that you can see it even more. Let's do another example. Let's say you have 5x to the fourth power minus 3x squared plus x, adding to, we'll just put this in brackets, and add it to negative 2x to the fourth power plus 6x squared plus 4. And we again group the terms that are similar to each other. So we will group the 5x to the fourth power, and then we'll add that, since the operation is an addition, then we'll add that to the negative 2x to the fourth power. Close brackets there. Then we have an addition sign, and then the next things that we have to group together, it's a negative 3x squared, close the bracket, and then we're adding, again, that's the operator that we're doing, adding, this is 6x squared, don't need anything else there, and then we have a positive x and we have a positive 4, and I'm just going to put this back because we don't have anything common on both sides of it for the x, and we don't have anything common on both sides of it for the constant. So we just have to resolve this and resolve this. So we can go here, we resolve this piece here, it's going to be a negative sign, so it means 5x to the fourth power minus 2x to the fourth power, which is 3x to the fourth power. Then we look at this. Now inside of here we have to say negative 3x squared plus 6x. So if I start from negative 3 on the number line, and I count 6 places to the right, then I'm going to get positive 3. So I'm going to have here plus, open bracket, positive 3 x to the second power, close bracket, plus x plus 4. Again, this here combines to give us a plus, and we get 3x to the fourth power plus 3x squared plus x plus 4. Now, as you can see, with each one of these, what we're doing is we're taking the terms inside of them, we're using the operator that they have in between them, and then we're adding each one of those terms that we combine together. So we took the 3x squared and the 2x squared, we put it in a bracket, we resolve it, and we add it to the next result. We add it to the result of the next pair that we have that have something in common, which is the 4x and the negative 3x. We put that in a bracket, we solve it, we add it. Same thing with the constants, 5 and 7. Resolve it, we add it. And we have each one of them here. Look at this, it's the same thing here. We're seeing 6x cubed, so we put that there. The operation is minus, so each one of the brackets is going to have a minus sign in front of it. And all we're doing is we're moving the terms themselves into the brackets that are in common. So this is the term here. The next one, this is the term here that is in common to nothing. Yeah, nothing in common there. And this is the next term here, right? And then this is the next term here. So you take the terms and you put them in a bracket by themselves with the operator that you have in between them, and then you resolve them and you get your answer. All right? Let's do one more, and that will be the last one. Right? You can always try pausing the video and see if you can solve it before I do. So let's say you have x to the third power plus 5x squared minus 4x plus 2 close bracket, and then subtracting from 3x cubed minus 2x squared plus 7x minus 8. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use 4 different colors so that you'll be able to see this easier. So I have a term here in x cubed, and I have a term here in x cubed, and I'm going to leave pink as the subtraction sign. So I'm going to have a term here, x cubed minus, which is coming from the original question, and then again 3x cubed. Okay, so this is the first one. Let's look at the next one. I have 5x squared here, and I have negative 2x squared here. So that means I'm going to put a plus sign here, and then I'm going to start with the orange now. Open bracket, 5x squared. Since it's plus, I don't really worry about it. But the next one, I have a minus sign here coming from the operation between them. And then I have a minus sign coming from the term itself. Right? Close the bracket. And then we have another one. Let me use white. So now we have negative 4x and we have positive 7x. So let me resolve that. So I put a plus sign after it. All right, I put a plus sign after it. And then I will go with the 4x. So I'm going to have negative 4x here. Then I'm going to have the sign of the operator in between them. And then I'm going to put the next one, which is a positive 7. Now I can write it like this, positive 7x. But really and truly, once you get accustomed to it, you'd recognize that these two becomes a negative sign right away. So you wouldn't tend to do it later on. Then we go on to the last term, which is the positive 2. Let me just use a different color, the red. So I have a positive 2 here, and I have a negative 8 here. I'm going to combine that, so I'm going to have positive 2 minus, which is coming from the operation itself, right? Minus, and then the last one would be negative 8. And then I close that off. And then I simplify everything. So I'm going to write the yellow terms. So you can see what we have. So the yellow terms is 1 minus 3, which is minus 2, x to the third power. Then we have the orange one. Minus and a minus is a plus. So that's 5x squared plus 2x squared, which is going to be 7x. I'm just going to put this in a bracket. I'm going to put the plus sign here. And then I'm going to have a positive 7. So I'm going to just put positive 7x squared here. Then we go on to the white ones. So I'm going to put the positive sign in between here. And where's the next one? White, right? So I'm going to have negative 4 minus plus. Minus plus here gives me a minus. So negative 4 minus 7x is going to give me negative 11. So negative 11x, close the bracket, plus the last term is combination of negative and negative. This is a positive, so that means 2 plus 8 is 10. So we have here positive 10. And then we just do the combination that we did all the time and we get our final answer. So this one here, the final answer will be negative 2x cubed. The plus and the plus here will give me a plus, so that will be plus 7x squared. The plus and the minus here will give me a minus, so it's minus 11x. The plus and the plus will give me a 10, positive 10. Now, after a while, you would realize all of these operations in your head, and you won't even need to think and work so far. You just simply need to group and work together. Let me show you an example of how we'd go about solving a problem involving large amounts of polynomials. And you can try and solve this one as well. Let me just try it. I was going to give you the last one example, but let me just give you one more. Just so you don't say that I give you I use the easy ones as examples and I'm giving you the difficult ones to do as practice. X plus 1, and then we're supposed to, let's say, add it to, negative 5x to the fifth power plus 6x to the third power minus 8x squared plus 4x minus 2. All right. So if I was to work this out, the first thing I want to do is I want to add the terms together. So this add minus 5 is going to be minus 5. So 7 minus 5 is 2. You know what? Let me just write it out quickly so that you can see it. So 7x to the fifth power plus minus 5x to the fifth power. Then we have the addition, negative 4x to the third power plus 6x cubed. Then we have plus 3x to the second power plus minus 8x squared. And then we have plus minus x plus 4x. And then we have 1 minus 2. And we solve those and we get our answer. So this here becomes minus. This here becomes minus. So we can work these out and we'll get, we work these out. 7 minus 5 is 2x to the fifth. Plus this here would be plus negative plus 2 plus 2x to the third. And then minus that. So 3 minus 8 is minus 5. And then minus 1 plus 4 is positive 3. And then 1 minus 2 is minus 1. And that's the answer for this one. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to give you some problems and try and see if you can solve them. I'm not going to give you the solution to it. Try and see if you can work it out. All right. So problems 1. So we have 3x squared plus 4x plus 6. And we have, we're supposed to add that to 2x squared minus 5x minus 4. Let's try another one. Subtract, let's say 7x cubed minus x squared plus 4x minus 10. And then we're minusing 5x cubed plus 3x squared minus 6x plus 8. And the third one, let's say we have 4x to the fourth power minus 2x squared plus 6. And we're going to take that and add it to negative x to the fourth power plus 3x squared minus 7. That's that one. Then the fourth one, let's say you have 8x to the fifth minus x to the fourth plus 5x minus 4. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to subtract from it 6x to the fifth minus 2x to the fourth plus 3x minus 9. And then the fifth one, last one, we're going to say 4, let's put negative in front of here, negative 4x cubed plus 7x squared minus x plus 3. And we're adding that to, let's say, 5x cubed minus 9x squared plus 4x minus 6. All right, so that's the first lesson that we're going to do. We're going to learn how to add and subtract polynomials. Now, this is something that should be very easy for you. If you have any questions, you can ask me and I will clarify them for you. All right, I'll see you in the next lesson.